Hey, this is very personal and a touchy subject, and I've had a stomach ache at least all day today. Yesterday I had a stomach ache as well, knowing that I had to speak. And you can see from my post the title of this video, and all the ones that are going to follow this are called Confessions of a House Negro. I want to explain that first. When we had slaves on plantations, when our country was founded, there were castes of slaves. Slaves had different castes. There were slaves that worked in the field, and those tended to be the darkest slaves, the most black. And then there were slaves that worked in the house amongst the family of the master. And many of those slaves were actually children of the master. They tended to be lighter skinned, and they had more exposure to culture. So they had some experience. Some of them could read, or they had greater array of skills. And so I'm calling these talks, these confessions of a house Negro. I'm referring to myself because my relationship with the United States of America is very much like the house Negro's relationship with the master on the plantation, where the slave knows that she is only okay if the master says she is okay, and that her ability to survive is completely dependent on someone else's approval, someone else's decisions, and she orients her life and her sense of who she is around another person's ideas and system. And in doing that, as the slave, she distances herself. She begins to let go of who she really is, where she came from, her own truth. In order to make it in the world, she becomes what the world wants her to be. And as I have grown in maturity and in consciousness, I see that that is the bargain I have made as a woman of color in this country. And I just want to bring it up. I want to air it. I want to let it out. I want to share it because, I see our country as having something like acid reflux. When your digestive system can't digest something and it keeps coming back up and harming your esophagus because the acid it's not doing its job, so it's actually going in the wrong direction. And what I see happening in our country is that all of these undigested, unfelt feelings, untalked about relationships and situations that occurred way back then, we've never really talked about them. We've never actually acknowledged how everyone suffered, how everyone went insane in order to enslave Africans and to murder indigenous people and to be a part of a system that made money the only object. We all went insane. And what we're dealing with now is the repercussions of never healing the undigested conversations and relationships and pains and suffering that we all suffered and continue to suffer. And I'm choosing to use this medium to share my experiences and my perspective for the purpose of healing, of digesting, of actually gaining nourishment from all of the suffering and all of the denial that we have engaged in as a country, as a giant family that is not speaking directly to each other. So please share this, think about this, talk with me about this. I'm going to share as often as I can. And thank you. And peace and love to all of us.